Hey, it's James here, and I wanted to make you a quick video. In fact, I'm not too far from my house, but I wanted to show you something that most locals who live around here have never actually seen. In fact, I didn't even know it was here till a few months ago, and I've lived here for years. In fact, it's hiding right behind this hedge. In a sense, it's so big, it's actually hiding in plain sight. But let me show you, because what I'm about to reveal to you has a very powerful lesson behind it, and here it is. It's Michelangelo's statue of David. Well, not quite, but it is one of two in the world, exact replicas. And what makes it so cool, besides that it's an exact replica, is that it was carved from one block of Carrara marble, which is from the same quarry that Michelangelo carved his famous statue of David back in the 1500s. And this one was actually made for the World Fair in New York back in 1964 by the world famous Solazzini and Sons studio. Now, I can't show you the whole statue because, well, after all, it's a 17-foot tall naked man and everything is built to scale. So I don't want this video to be flagged as not safe for work. But Michelangelo, who sculpted the original when he was in his early 20s, went on to become one of the most famous artists in the world, and millions of people every year are still drawn to view his work in places like the Sistine Chapel. But Michelangelo said something that was so profound that we need to hear it. And it's one of my favorite quotes. In fact, what he said was, "If people knew how hard I had to work to gain my mastery, it wouldn't seem wonderful at all." And this is incredible. He's telling us that he had to work so hard to create what he created. So hard, in fact, if people knew how hard he worked, it would take all the mystique, all the mystery out of what everyone perceived was just his natural talent. But is it just hard work that makes someone a master? Like, is it just a matter of putting in the hours? You know, you've all heard of the 10,000-hour rule. Well, it turns out it's more than that. And when you get what I'm about to tell you, you can experience some incredible growth in your life that is going to lead to much more success in whatever domain that you're in. But when you don't do what I'm about to tell you, you're selling yourself short of your true potential. And there's no way I'm going to let that happen to you. Anders Ericsson, who is the world's expert on the science of peak performance, in his new book, Peak, again makes the case that any of us can improve at most things that we do, but we have to engage in what he calls deliberate practice. So what's that? Well, it involves multiple things, but let me give you what I think are the three main ideas. First of all, it means getting clear on what activities and skills actually lead to your success. In other words, you can't be an expert at everything. Michelangelo isn't known for his equestrian skills or his archery, but his art. Now, did he do other things? I'm sure he did. But when he poured himself into his craft, that's where he lit up the world. And you have to get clear so you know where to direct your valuable energy. Secondly, it's about setting goals to improve in these few key areas. But these goals have to challenge you to get outside of your comfort zone. No one ever became a master at anything without some kind of struggle. And we generally don't like this, but challenging goals ensures that we have to put in maximal effort to succeed, and that's what it takes. Also, when our goals are challenging, we'll often fail, forcing us to think creatively about finding other ways to do it, and that's actually a good thing. And thirdly, there has to be some form of feedback. Whether that's reviewing your performance yourself, or better still, having an outside perspective, like a coach or a mentor or a coworker who can comment on your progress. And this is important so you can make adjustments and course correct. So now that I've outlined the basics, it's your turn. And if you're watching this with your team, and I hope that you are, I want you to do this together because I think it's going to make for a great team discussion. So, step number one, identify your craft. I know a lot of us have many different things that we need to do, but there are only a few things that bring about 80% of your success. What are those things? For example, if you're in sales, it's probably something to do with sales or sales presentations or closing. If you're a CEO, it might be building an inspiring work culture. Or if you're a manager and you need to master how to build a great team, and that's going to be a key to your success. Well, see, this is actually often the hardest part for us. It's just narrowing down into these few things that we need to master in order to ensure our success. Then once you have that, move on to step number two. Now in step number two, I want you to take your craft and break it down into micro skills. So for example, if someone paints portraits, they're going to need to know how to do skin tone, paint eyes, hair, texture, lips, etc. And each one of these has, specific techniques that are going to help them become a master. If you're a speaker like me, then there are so many different elements to master. There's openings, connection with the crowd, use of space on stage, body language, vocal pitch, intonations of words, and then there's the whole world of storytelling. I mean, the list goes on, but it shows that you can always get better at something. So I think you get the point, but take your craft, break it into chunks or these micro skills, and this is going to give you a good sized list. And these are the skills that you want to start practicing deliberately. And this brings us to step number 3, which is to set some goals each week to deliberately practice. For example, this week I'm meeting with a bunch of store managers for a national chain to train them in leadership. But I'm not going to simply show up and just deliver the training that I've done 100 times before. It's also a chance for me to work on my craft. And so I have a couple of areas that I'm going to push my own boundaries on. And this is the key, to push yourself out of your own comfort zone in order to improve. And finally, step number 4 is to engage in some form of feedback, whether it's your own evaluation or, better yet, having outside eyes who can weigh in on your performance. You see, the feedback it's not a pass or a fail thing, but rather feedback. It's information to help make course corrections wherever you need to. And this is a cycle that you keep repeating. So, to help you do this, I've actually made you a handout, a worksheet that you can use to identify your craft and break it down into these micro skills, which you can then set out to deliberately practice. And you're going to find that handout right below this video. And if you don't, because you're viewing this on someone else's website or YouTube, then head on over to jamesrobbins.com/mastery. That's jamesrobbins.com/mastery. So, in closing, what will you find when you devote yourself to mastery of your craft? It's actually a time where it lights your fire, especially when you see how your own growth begins to impact others. As Michelangelo said, if people knew how hard I worked to gain my mastery, it wouldn't seem wonderful at all. So remember, pursue mastery. Pursue mastering your craft, because those who do become masters, and masters produce masterpieces. Hey, if you enjoyed this training and you would like to get more tips, tools, and ideas on leadership and personal excellence, then go to jamesrobbins.com and sign up for free training that will be delivered each week to your inbox.